Welcome to One Girl in All the World, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch podcast where we recap each episode in order and discuss. I'm Ashley, Buffy superfan.
I'm Kimmy, Buffy newbie.
You can find us on all major podcast apps, YouTube, and Instagram with new episodes on Tuesdays. So today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 11, Out of Sight, Out of Mind.
Whew, this was an interesting episode.
Yeah, it was dark.
It was sad, actually.
It was sad.
It was really sad.
One of the darker episodes of the season so far.
Yeah. Yep.
Overall, what did you think?
I liked it overall. It had some very interesting character development with a character that I don't like, so...
Yeah. I wonder who that could be.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Okay, cool. So we'll dive into it. Out of Mind, Out of Sight originally aired on May 19th, 1997. The story is by Josh Whedon and Ashley Gable, and then the teleplay / screenplay was Thomas A. Swiden, and it was directed by Reza Badali. That's wrong, but I'm so bad at pronouncing things. I'm sorry, Reza. Oh, right. And then the synopsis is Buffy and Cordelia become unlikely allies to combat an invisible spirit that has targeted Cordelia and everyone around her. Meanwhile, Angel goes to Giles to warn him that Buffy could be in grave danger. All right.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Buffy and Cordelia to team up.
Yeah.
It was quite the surprise.
Yeah. All right. So we start the episode with another Slayer opening. I'm hoping we only get this one more time after this because we only have one next week. It's the season finale.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm going to be I'm going to have a half an hour rant on season 2, episode 1 if Hulu still has this on. Okay. So look forward to that. Don't miss that episode if it's still there. So we have the Slayer opening, and then we start out in the hallway, and we have Cordy, Harmony, and her boyfriend Mitch are walking down, and they're talking about spring, like school, like at the end of spring, school getting out, the May dance or whatever, and Cordelia wants to be the May Queen.
That's right. And she had her dress specially made for this.
Of course.
That's
she said,
intense.
Didn't she say at one point, off the rack makes her...
itchy or something?
Like something like itchy or break out hives or something like that. So Cordy doesn't like to wear off the rack clothing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I own.
He's very privileged. I mean, I can't think of anything I've ever had that's been... I've had things like really altered, but never like made for me.
Specifically for you, yeah.
Yeah, that I can think of. Yeah, so, yeah, Cordy don't play that way. So they're walking down the hallway talking about all this. They're looking forward to it, and Cordelia just says it's like basically implies it's a foregone conclusion that she is going to win May Queen.
Of course.
Buffy comes rushing out of the library and bumps into them and spills her bag of all kinds of weapons.
It's like one of them was what, like a mace or what? Like what?
Lots of stakes, a mace. There was a cross, like just the normal things you'd find in a teenager's bag at school. And she's like, they all look down at her. She's like, I bet you wonder what I'm doing with all this stuff. And they're like, no, not really. But she still goes on to explain. She could have just said, okay, because they don't care what she's up to.
They really don't care.
But she said that she's basically doing a history project, and Mr. Giles, the librarian, has all this like cool collection. So he's letting her borrow it for show and tell, because you have show and tell in high school.
Exactly.
Yes, that happens.
In high school. So
they don't care, and they walk off, and Cordelia wants to, again, regale people of the story of when Buffy attacked her with a stick at the Bronze.
Right. And then, they're making fun of her as they leave, and I don't know, Buffy does look actually visibly upset, whereas normally I feel like she kind of shakes that stuff off, and today she looked, like, upset about it.
Yeah, she's stung by that one. Mm-hmm. Like, letting, like, whack jobs or whatever Cordelia calls her. Yeah, like, into the school. And, yeah, it does. This is a sore spot for Buffy, this whole episode.
It is. Yeah.
And this is the first time we see that. Like, she just let it get to her at this point. And the only time I think we ever saw that clearly was at the beginning of the pack, when Kyle and his goons were talking to her, and she was kind of giving it back, but then she did get, like, her feelings were hurt, genuinely. So we see that again here. And we go to the classroom. It's English class, and there Miss Miller is the teacher, and she's talking about The Merchant of Venice, which is a Shakespeare play. Have you ever read this? I have not.
I have to read that one in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I didn't realize
there was a Merchant of Venice, actually.
Yeah, I didn't read it either. I looked it up.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so it's about a merchant in Venice, go figure, named Antonio, who defaults on a loan from a Jewish moneylender, Skylock. So when she's talking, it's a speech from Skylock is what she's actually saying in that moment in the classroom.
She talks about the anger of outcasts.
Mm-hmm. She says that, so he's a Jewish moneylender in Venice. And Cordelia is like, oh, he's just whining. Because he's talking about like, what it's like to be a Jew in Venice at that time.
Which would be hard, I would think.
Yeah, like the prejudice that he would face. And she's like, oh, he's whining.
Racism.
Yeah, exactly. He's whining and that he's making it all about him. And that
it's a Twinkie defense.
Yeah. Do you know what the Twinkie defense is?
No, but it sounds so mean.
Yeah, I've heard it. Like, I know it. Like, I knew this reference.
I've never heard it before.
But I did have to refresh my memory because I wanted to, like, just, not say the wrong thing. So, basically, do you know who Harvey Milk is?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know how he was killed by, like, Dan White, who was another politician, and also the mayor of San Francisco was killed?
Yep.
So, during that murder trial, he said that his depression that caused him to commit these murders was caused in part by a bad diet of like sugar, a lot of sugar, and part of that was Twinkies.
Oh my God, seriously?
So that's become a like little saying for people when you say your defense is like weak and ridiculous. The Twinkie defense. If you have a Twinkie defense, it means like, yeah, you don't have a leg to stand on. Like that's ridiculous.
Twinkies
whatever you're
made me do it.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. So whatever you're trying to like, so whatever Willow had said, she's saying like that's a weak defense. Okay. So that's what the Twinkie defense means.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And she says that, like, one time I hit a girl with my car, and she made it all about her leg. What about me? It was traumatic. Like,
I couldn't believe she was saying that. Yeah.
You can't?
Yeah, she was like, well, yeah, I know. She doesn't appreciate people complaining about their issues.
No. Okay, all of this, like, we know, Cordy's ridiculous. Everything she's saying is ridiculous.
She's so extra.
But she's engaged in class.
She is, and she actually did read it, and she obviously understood it. Yeah, so I do have to give her credit for that.
Yeah, in this episode, I definitely feel like we see her as a better student, even if she's ridiculous, than we had maybe given her, that I had given her credit for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is a detail that I had forgotten on previous rewatches and stuff. So, yeah, she's looking engaged, and we see that more a little bit later in the scene. Like, she's an engaged student.
Yep. She wants to do well, yeah.
She wants to do well, yeah.
I thought with this scene, like when they were talking about the anger of the outcasts, I thought that was kind of nice foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. And that's exactly why they picked it, so thank you.
Shakespeare's always good foreshadowing.
Yeah. I'm like, what is it, but not why. So, yeah, that's very good.
That's very balance out.
And Joss Whedon is a huge Shakespeare fan, so there is Shakespeare like mentioned, implied, like metaphors for Shakespeare, like through this entire show, like everywhere.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pay closer attention.
This will not be the last time. Okay, it probably isn't even the first time. I probably missed other like nods to Shakespeare, but like it's everywhere on the show. Okay. Yeah. So at the end of class, Cordelia asked Miss Miller if she's having problems coming up with like kind of like a coherent theme for her final paper or whatever, and she wants the teacher to like, can she help her figure out what what your thoughts are all like contradicting each other. And she's just like, yeah, come over, not like Miss French, don't come over to my house.
She's not a praying mantis,
so I can mate with you. No, come to the classroom where it's door open, everything's legit. Thank you, Miss Miller, for showing us how it's supposed to be done. So she'll go there and help her with homework, or with her project. So yeah, Cordelia's asking for more help from the teacher.
I thought there was a nice touch in this scene where, like, when Cordelia goes up to the teacher at the end of class, and the teacher was like, oh, you have interesting insights, because she's trying to be encouraging, even though she may not agree with everything. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm glad to know someone actually did the reading. And then Willow's behind Cordelia, and you can see her visibly roll her eyes.
She does? Yeah, I was trying to remember. I didn't put that in my notes, but I had seen that. I was going to hopefully I remembered, and I didn't remember. So
the only reason I noticed that is because I had to pause it to write my note, and then when I unpaused it, I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Willow's like, oh, God, why are you giving her these accolades? Because Willow's like the star student, right? And I gotta tell you, these like few classroom scenes, these discussion classroom scenes that we see, I have never in my life, so I went from kindergarten to a master's degree, so I've been in a lot of classrooms, like a lot of people have been in a lot of classrooms. I have never seen a more engaged conversation than in this episode. I've never been present in a classroom where the students are all throwing their hands up and they're like having this like heated discussion. I have never really not to this level.
My English class was like that.
Not like no.
Oh yeah, we got really heated about stuff.
Yeah, no, not to this. Not to the level in this class, especially high school. High school is like silence the entire time.
Really?
The only one I can think of is in college. I took a comic book class, and we like got it was like a debate about vigilantism.
Interesting.
Like pros and cons of it. So yeah. Anyway, I was just like really surprised by how even Xander's like, oh, I have something to say. Like, it just I don't know.
I had the Xander in my high school was like that too, actually, in English class.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do I know?
I just what was this like this one teacher? She just really got us like to
that helps.
Stuff. She was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just me in the American school system. Okay, won't say more about that. All right. So Cordelia walks out of the classroom and meets up with Cordy and says that she's going to her dress is ready and that Mitch is going to die when he sees it. And then we go to the locker room.
I didn't even make that connection. Okay. Nice.
We go to the locker room. Mitch is showering, and there's some air quotes locker room talk when he gets to the locker with the other guys.
I didn't like this. I thought this was gross.
No, of course, because it is.
Yeah. What did he say? He says, one of his friends, I gotta look good on Cordelia's arm. And he's like, it's not her arm I want to be looking good on. Or no.
Not her arm I want to be on.
I want to be on. That's right.
Yeah.
Ew. Gross.
Yeah. No, Mitch.
That's not okay.
Yeah. I would hit him with that baseball bat. So they're like, bros laughing, bros chuckling. And then they leave, and he's getting ready. And on top of the locker in front of him, there's a baseball bat, and it just lifts up out of the air with nobody there and just starts beating the shit out of him.
So weird.
Yeah. So he just gets beat up and basically knocks him unconscious.
Yeah.
And then we go to the credits. In the hallway, Cordy is canvassing the students with, it looked like just like a chocolate coin.
Yeah.
With a C on it, obviously for Cordelia, for Wilma or Willa or whatever she said.
I think she said Wilma.
Yeah, poor Harm.
She's so mean.
Harm's a little cinnamon bun. She doesn't give one to Buffy because she decides, oh yeah, you don't really want your vote. And Buffy's hurt by this.
Yeah, she's, I don't need the loony French vote. That's really mean.
And Buffy's like, well, I don't even like chocolate. So there. Yeah. So there, Cordelia. Didn't land. No,
it didn't.
Willow and Xander come over and they're talking about Cordelia like going, above and beyond and way over the top about like her campaign for May Queen. And they kind of have these, because you have to remember, they've only been friends with Buffy for less than a year, and Willow and Xander have been friends since like kindergarten. Mm-hmm. That's like maybe even earlier than that.
Yeah.
So they have all this whole relationship that before Buffy came around. Yeah. So they have all these inside jokes about Cordelia in previous school years and stuff. And so they're like have all this like shorthand vocabulary and stories and stuff. They know what the other one's thinking. And Buffy feels left out. You can tell by her.
Yeah, she really does.
By her. Buffy's past looms large in this episode. So she knows like she hasn't been around for this. She feels left out. Xander's like, what a moron would be the May Queen anyway? And Buffy reveals that she was Henry's version of the May Queen.
Right.
And that they had the dance and the coronation and everything, and that she won, and she was their version of the May Queen. She doesn't say what they actually called it, but yeah, that she had won that. One of the students comes running down the hallway saying Mitch got walloped or beat up or whatever. I don't remember the word he used. Yeah. And then he's like, I think he might be. And then Principal Snyder's like, not dead. Nobody's dead.
He's like, no, but he said, no dead students here this week.
Yeah, that was my favorite line. Principal Snyder was great in this episode. He was so funny. I mean, he's not a nice person.
Not intentionally funny.
He was funny. So they all rush over to outside the locker room, and Mitch is being wheeled out in a stretcher. And Buffy says, "What happened?" He says, "The baseball bat just lifted by itself and beat me. It's all by itself." And he gets wheeled away. So Buffy's like, "Okay, obviously something weird's gone on.
I need to go investigate."
And Schneider stops her from going in there, and she says, "Oh, Mitch wanted me to get his comb."
Right. So weird. That's the first thing that you could think of. Like, not like a book or I don't know.
Yeah, homework or something.
Schoolwork, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he's doing it with Cordelia, he's probably pretty vain. So maybe number one concern is his comb. But Snyder's like, no way, you can't go in there. And Willow and Xander distract him by saying that Mitch said he was going to sue the school. Mitch's dad is a powerful lawyer. And that, like, after that, Snyder couldn't care about Buffy. So while he's like, what have you heard about Mitch suing the school? Buffy can sneak into the locker room. In the locker room, Buffy finds the bloody bat just laying on the floor. She kind of like toes it, like, okay, are you going to do something? Like, he just kind of nudges it. And then she's kind of looking around the area of Mitch's locker and sees that look, L-O-O-K, is spray painted onto the lockers. That was the word, not bitch.
I think that was the question. Right, that was my question.
Yeah, look.
This was a lot more PG than I was expecting.
Yeah, and more mysterious.
Yes. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? In the cafeteria, Giles joins Buffy, Willow, and Xander and says, obviously they filled him in, and he says that it could be
like a ghost, a poltergeist?
It could be a poltergeist, it could be an invisible creature, or someone with telekinesis. So those are some options. And then he's saying that's, of course, if the bat itself isn't possessed.
Right, which...
Hey, that would have been
You never
funny.
know, I guess, in this weird Buffy.
Oh, yeah. Anything's possible in Buffy, for sure. So they kind of latch on to maybe the ghost thing is the most likely. So they ask Willow if she can pull a list of the dead/missing kids from the school.
Right.
Like, because there's a list of kids that are dead or missing from the school.
Nobody died this week, so obviously it's a trend.
Yeah. This is the exception, not the rule.
So weird.
Yeah, for dead missing kids at Sunnydale High. So Giles asks Xander if he wants to help with the research because they have their other tasks to do.
This was a funny exchange.
And Xander's like, what, there's homework now? He's like, fine, you can go talk to Cordelia and like follow her around and see.
And he's like, nope.
Because these are two friends of Cordelia's. And he's like, no, okay, I'll do research. So
research sounds pretty good now.
Yeah. So they have kind of the plan for now. Outside, Cordelia tells Harmony that Mitch will be fine because she went to the hospital to see him, but she's so worried about how he's going to look in his prom pictures because he's all black and blue.
That's so awful of her.
Yeah, like he's going to ruin the pictures now because...
she won't be able to show them to anybody.
Yeah, she got beat up. And Harmony's like, you don't know, like, what... They can do amazing things with spray guns or whatever. Like, what are those, like, little... like, you put people's makeup on with it.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the term. Anyway, you know what I mean.
There's no Photoshop back then.
Yeah, no Photoshop, so maybe you can put some makeup on them and make it better. So we see a flashback of someone, it's their POV, so we don't see who it is trying to talk to Cordelia and Harmony, and she's like, we're not talking to you, do you mind? Something like that. They're talking about Mitch breaking up with somebody, and then he's already sniffing around. So this is like basically the beginning, the origin stories of Mitch and Cordelia's relationship. But somebody's trying to talk to them, and they completely shut them down.
Ignore them, yeah.
Outside with Cordelia and Harmony, Buffy comes over to ask Cordelia if she can ask her some questions because they think that maybe there could be a link or she could be next or who knows. Mm-hmm. Because it's obviously Mitch was Cordelia's boyfriend.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you see Harmony fly backwards down the stairs and
like someone
all the way down the stairs.
Pushed her.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fall. That was dramatic.
She flew down those stairs. Well, obviously fell all the way to the bottom. Everybody comes rushing over. She says, Buffy asks what was wrong, and Snyder comes over. He's like, I'm the principal. I'll ask the questions. What happened?
Same thing. Exactly.
Buffy says, what happened? He just repeats the question. She says she thinks her ankle's either broken or sprained or something. And then she said and Cordelia says she fell. And she's like, I was pushed. Mm-hmm. She's like, someone pushed me.
And Buffy looks like, ooh, interesting.
And Buffy hears a laugh. Like a giggle.
Oh, I missed that. Oh.
Mm-hmm. So that's why Buffy goes back up the stairs and hears again and then sees like a door closing.
Okay, I saw that. Okay, but I missed the first laugh. Okay, interesting.
I think so. Yeah, I think she hears
No,
it.
I mean, I imagine.
She definitely hears one when she gets to the top of the stairs.
Yep.
For sure.
Okay.
Because then she sees the door closing and stuff. So she goes into his office and she's just kind of looking around and something runs into her that we can't see, that Buffy can't see. So she knocks into something invisible, and it seems like it was going into the band room. So Buffy follows into the band room and kind of like saying, hello, like, I just want to talk to you, and trying to find out whatever this thing is or communicate with it. And we see, but Buffy doesn't see, one of the ceiling panels kind of lift up and come down.
And I think she actually, like, when she comes into that room, she kind of trips over something that's invisible, too. So,
Oh, does she? Okay.
Yeah.
I know she does in the office before she goes into the band room, but...
in the office, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she definitely it was supposed to run into her, but it looked like she tripped over something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I just think the action wasn't correlate, because she talks later about running into it, like...
Oh.
So,
okay.
but Sarah Bushra Gellar looked like she tripped.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so it didn't really... I felt the same way, too. I was like, she definitely made a tripping motion rather than being shoved back by something.
Walked into something.
Yeah, exactly. So that didn't really match up well. Outside, Buffy's kind of relaying what she experienced to the group. Giles...
We see some weird suit guys.
Yeah. Well, before that, Giles explains, like, what it's like to, like... He doesn't experience it personally, but he knows what people have said about being touched by a ghost.
Right.
That it's a cold feeling, makes your hair stand up on your neck.
Through them.
Yeah. And she says, well, that wasn't a ghost then, because it ran into me and it wasn't cold.
Yep.
So they're thinking that now it's like Harmony plus Mitch equals Cordy is definitely probably the next victim.
She's a common denominator.
Yeah.
And Xander's the one that was like, maybe it's an invisible person, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Way to go, Xander.
A broken clock's right twice a day. All I can say about Xander. Yeah, and then as you said, we see the two men in black weirdly standing around a tree by the front of the school, and I didn't even... I don't know why. It's a long shot. Like, you are supposed to see them. It is very obvious, and sometimes I'm too deep in the weeds. I don't see, like, the obvious things. I can't remember. So, yes, we see the men in black before we have that,
nobody
conversation.
Nobody says anything. Nobody notices them. Weirdly.
Including me.
Wouldn't you notice, like, if you were in high school, like, wouldn't you notice that? I totally would have noticed some weirdo guys hanging around my high school like that.
Well, Buffy didn't feel it was that weird. The little boy was hanging around the high school, so...
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I just don't think they even saw them, to be fair. I don't think they even saw them.
They didn't notice them? Yeah,
I just didn't notice them. And I'm in that group as well, and I was looking right at them. So, yes, we see some weird men in black. Cordelia has a dress fitting, so Buffy's going to just kind of hang out where her dress fitting's going to be to see if anything's going to happen.
Yep.
So that night in the school hallway, Buffy is looking through the window of a classroom. I don't know why she's trying on the dress at school, but she is.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. That is kind of weird.
Kind of strange. She's saying, just, gaga over it. Everyone's like, oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I mean, it is pretty.
Yeah.
I'll give it.
It's giving me Once More With Feeling vibes. If you know, you know. But... And Buffy's is kind of like sadly kind of looking in the like
she does
that was sad. Me, that could be me. Yep. It was me, like
she's feeling left out again.
She's feeling like how life has changed and everything. And she hears a flute and just turns, and we know that she hears the flute. That's basically that. In the library, Giles
also hears the flute.
He hears something. He hears some rustling. And he looks in the mirror, and he turns around, and Angel's there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because Angel doesn't have a reflection. Yeah. So he's startled. Again, love it. Giles scared. Every time Giles is startled, I just laugh and giggle forever. And he's like, oh, Angel. Like, yada, yada, yada. They're kind of just having, like, some shop talk. And he's saying, hey, I know you're still trying to work on prophecies about the Master. Remember the Master? He's still a problem. Okay, so he's still down there plotting and scheming. Mm-hmm. And Giles says, they've kind of had something else going on, the visible girl. Yep. And he says that he's been trying to figure out the invisibility thing and he has the book in his hand. It's Legends of Vishnu. And they assume it's like based on a major deity of the Hindu Trinity. And there's like a Lord Vishnu, and it says like one like translation of it is basically him having no form. So that could be he's trying to find out like more about maybe this person in this book was invisible. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why that's there. Yep. He says, yeah, I've read through the what I have of the Slayer prophecies in regards to the Master. when it comes to the final hours. And he says, but I don't have the most complete prophecies about the Slayer and with the end years. And he's like, the two that he mentions is the Tiberius Manifesto and the Pyrrhum Codex, which have been lost. And Angel says that the Codex was lost. It was not lost. It was misplaced.
Right.
And that he can get Giles the Codex,
Yeah.
which could be a huge deal in figuring out what's going to happen with the Master and how they can prevent it.
So my favorite line is actually in this scene.
Okay.
They go back to, so after they were talking about the Codex thing, they were talking about Angel's non-reflection. And Angel says, looking in the mirror and seeing nothing every day, it's an overrated pleasure.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because more than anybody, like, I think Giles is kind of intrigued by the invisibility. He says, like, it must be a heady experience.
Exactly.
He's definitely, like, you can choose your superpower. That question, I feel like Giles would definitely choose invisibility. He seems pretty intrigued with with that, having that ability. Angel's like, it's not all cracked up to be.
Exactly.
Even though he's not invisible, but he is half invisible.
Yeah.
He has a reflection.
Exactly.
He's invisible to himself.
Yeah. And I feel like that also just kind of lends to the theme of the show.
Yeah. So hopefully Angel can help him out. Right here, we get a flashback of a student trying to talk. It's in the bathroom, I think. That Cordelia, Harmony, and some other girls are talking in the bathroom. There's another student. And they're talking about someone that came to speak to the school and how boring their presentation was. And the girl that we don't know says, oh, yeah, and his toupee. Did you see his toupee? It was like a cabbage. And they just don't even really acknowledge her at all. They keep talking. She tries again to say something. And Harmony says, oh, we're talking, okay? And then Cordelia...
Because, like, they walked up to her and were like...
Yeah, they kind of yeah. She was just washing her hands, minding her own business.
Yeah.
And Cordelia actually, like, just kind of, like, steals her line about the toupee looking like a cabbage. So she heard her and then
just stole her.
It stole her line. And then
everybody laughed and then they just walked away.
Yeah, and they just walked away. So she's just standing there like, okay, I feel invisible. No pun intended. In the quad, Principal Snyder announces that the May Queen is Cordelia. So
Shocker.
I don't even know if she had any competition. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We
were too scared of her.
They didn't talk about that.
And if you watch throughout the episode, there's like her like posters of her face around on the walls and stuff, like her campaign posters. I don't know if you caught any of those.
No.
Yeah. Willow, Xander, and Buffy are kind of sitting back watching. Buffy's trying to see if anything weird is going to happen. Willow has...
She thinks Cordelia is the key still to all of
Yeah,
this.
so she's keeping an eye on her.
Yeah.
Willow has pulled the dead and missing students list, and they also, at this point, Willow sees the two guys we saw earlier.
The suits.
Yeah, the suits, the men in black, kind of hanging off on the edge of the crowd, and she's like, "Oh, did Cordelia hire like bodyguards now?" So they do see them, and Buffy says that the most recent missing person was Marcie Ross, who disappeared 6 months ago, and she was in band. She played the flute.
She played the flute.
Yeah, so Buffy's like, I heard a flute, so I think that she might be our invisible girl or whatever she is.
Willow and Xander are like, I don't recognize her name. Like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, even Willow is supposed to be at the pretty bottom of the totem pole.
Yep.
And she doesn't know who she is.
Thought that was weird that they didn't recognize her.
Pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah.
In the band room, Buffy she goes back to the band room because that's where she had the last activity. She knows that girl was in band, so that's where she decides to go back and sniff around some more. She sees a footprint on a chair, and so she puts two together that she's living up in the ceiling. So she pulls herself up into the ceiling, and she kind of sees where Marcie's been living.
She has like a little hiding spot.
Yeah, she has like a little bed.
There's a flute.
Yeah, there's a flute.
Okay, so it looks like someone's watching Buffy as she's sitting in this little hidey space.
Looks like there's somebody might be creeping around the background there. So also, there's a doll, which I did not catch this the first run through.
The stuffed bear? No, not the stuffed bear.
So no, it's not the stuffed bear.
Okay.
I actually, until I looked at like the trivia for this episode, I did not notice, and I was like, no way, and I went back and looked. So kind of against the wall, there's a doll. Like a blonde doll in a dress, like one of those old-fashioned dolls. Weird. And it means nothing in the context of this episode, but this doll will be back.
Oh, really?
No, this was the same doll that we see later on.
So it's like an Easter egg.
Like it's like a backward Easter egg. Like if you're rewatching. If you're watching now, it won't mean anything to you.
Right, okay. So it's not like from a previous episode?
No, it's from it's
the future.
basically just reused a prop. But she becomes important. She's
Creepy doll episode, okay.
No, she's not important, but she becomes more notable.
Is she in season 2?
She is in season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so it won't be that long before we see her again.
Okay.
So I'll just say that her name is Miss Edith.
Okay, good to know.
I can't believe it was Miss Edith.
Shall I
was
write
like,
this down?
no way. It can't be Miss Edith. It's Miss Edith.
Okay.
Guys, it's Miss Edith. Okay? I never caught this before, so I was just like all giddy about it. Okay. Anyway, those are all my people that have watched before.
Can we remind me of this when we're doing that episode?
I will. She's around for a little bit, so.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, I will remind you. It's not that far in the future. Okay, I got totally taken off path by Miss Edith.
It's okay. Buffy finds a yearbook.
Yeah, so she finds a yearbook, and she opens it, and it sees, like, all the writing is to Marcie. So she can confirm
that Marcie Ross.
And while she's looking at the yearbook, we see a, like, shot of Buffy where there's, like, a steak knife raised raised behind her back. And the look on Buffy's face feels like, it looks like she senses something's behind her, but she's not, then she just, like, doesn't. Like, yeah. I don't know if they were, like, trying to do it two ways.
I noticed that, too, yeah.
The look on her face is, like kind of, like, scared.
She relaxes.
Yeah, immediately. So I don't know if they shot this two ways.
Yeah.
Where Buffy senses something, and then they didn't go there, and then but Sarah Michelle Gellar's face was already like that, so there definitely was weirdness there. Yeah. Something didn't, like, fit together. The puzzle didn't fit together very well. But she takes the yearbook with her and just leaves, because now she's confirmed that it's Marcie Ross. Yep. In the classroom, Miss Miller is grading papers, and she hears somebody come into her room, and she thinks it's Cordy, because she says, Cordelia, could you possibly be on time?
Yeah.
And looks and doesn't see anyone.
Nobody's there. Yeah,
so she goes back to grading the papers, and all of a sudden a plastic bag goes over her head.
Well, she hears laughing.
My God. Oh, yes, there's some laughing, yeah.
The plastic bag scene was really creepy.
It was dark. Like, that's intense to put a plastic bag over someone's head.
Yep.
Yeah. So then we jump a little bit, can't be more than a couple minutes, and Cordelia walks in and sees Miss Miller passed out on her desk with the plastic bag over her head, and runs over and rips it off. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? And Miss Miller comes to, thankfully, and says that she was attacked, but she didn't see who it was. And then all of a sudden, the chalk raises and it starts writing on the chalkboard by itself, and it writes, listen.
Yep. And Cordelia sees it.
Yes. How freaked out would you be?
So we have look and listen.
In the library, Buffy is showing everyone the yearbook, and she opens it up, and she's like, okay, look, everyone wrote have a nice summer. And they have to explain to Giles that this is what you write to someone that you don't know.
Yep.
Like, it's just like the generic
no
thing.
Friends at all.
Yeah,
it's just kiss of death.
Yeah. And, okay, so I have a confession. Because right smack, just like Willow and Xander, right smack dab in the middle, have a nice summer, Ashley. It said Ash. No. I signed it, and I didn't even remember. Just like them, I didn't remember.
You're just like all the other ones. Jeez.
The main name right in the middle. The main signature. Way to shame me. Have a nice summer, Ashley. Damn. I'm sorry. Marcie. Yeah. I am no better than anyone else at that school. So I am just like another horrible person like Xander and Willow that signed her yearbook and didn't even know who she was. So I'm sorry, Marcie. And they were like, well, we didn't know who she was. We just probably signed it. We didn't know her.
This just so surprises me because they're not super popular.
Especially when Willow says that last year they had 4 classes together with her.
Yeah, that's so harsh. And then so Xander's like, so she turned invisible because no one noticed her. Mm-hmm. Xander is weirdly adept in this episode. Would you say clock is a broken
clock is right twice a day.
Twice a day? There's his second right.
Yeah, ding dong. That was his second dong. And Giles is kind of like has an aha moment where he says this is probably more about physics.
Oh yeah, he says mystical versus quantum mechanical, and then physics.
Yeah, mixed obviously because you're on the Hellmouth. So this physics like science doesn't exactly work normally over the Hellmouth.
Right.
Even if it's not purely mystical. So this is something new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a new idea that we haven't really explored. Then we get a flashback, which explains why she attacked Miss Miller. Miss Miller is calling on everybody. They're having a very heated discussion about something. I can't remember what it is. About somebody being a hero of the story, but they've done bad things.
Yeah.
Like that. We don't really get more details of what they're discussing. And Marcie's there. We see Marcie, and she keeps raising her hand. Everyone's being called on her. She keeps raising her hand, and Miss Miller is like not even noticing she's there.
No.
And then Marcie starts noticing that because she has her hand raised, that her hand is like getting transparent. Yeah. So she's beginning to like lose transparency. In the library, the same group are still discussing that. This was something that was done to her. It's not a power she got.
Power she can control.
Yeah, she can't control it. She didn't choose it. It was done to her.
Something they did to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically. People in the room too, yeah. Cordelia walks in saying that she needs their help, that she has been targeted, that, we've got Mitch, we've got Cordelia, we've got Harmony, and we've got Miss Miller who is helping her. So she's like, someone's coming after me.
It's all about me. Me.
And then it's like, for once she's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And she's like, I came to you, Buffy, because I hoped you were in a gang.
Yeah, that's funny too. You're so strong. You're always around when weird stuff happens.
Yeah. So she's like, I have to go to Buffy and her band of misfits to help me because I feel like if anybody can, it's them.
With her weird weapons.
Yeah, you have a purse full of weapons. In the ceiling, or maybe she's in the room, but by the time we see this scene, she's in the ceiling. Marcie is listening, definitely has heard what's been discussed, and is mad that Cordelia doesn't know who she is.
Yeah.
And because they kind of say, like, the person that's haunting you is Invisible Girl, Marcie Ross, and they have their yearbooks to show her the picture.
Show her. And she's like, I've never seen her before.
Yeah, so Marcie doesn't like that.
No.
Marcie don't like that. So she's basically like, oh, they're going to pay. They, like, suck the life out of you and all this. Like, she's really getting raging now. Marcie is really on the warpath now. Buffy thinks that Marcie will go after Cordelia at the coronation, and so they can use Cordelia as bait. And that they have like you mentioned, they have the words look and listen. Mm-hmm. But she's like, what do they mean? They're like, I don't think Marcie wants us to know yet what they mean. She's just dropping these breadcrumbs for us. We're not supposed to know yet. Yep. So the final act hasn't happened yet for Marcie. Yep. It's still happening, and it's probably going to happen with Cordelia. So Willow, Giles, and Xander are going to research like how to kind of uncloak somebody that's invisible because Buffy cannot fight someone that she can't see. So Buffy's just trying to do her best to keep Cordelia safe and draw Marcie out. Now, this is a really interesting scene. In the hallway, Buffy and Cordelia, are walking and talking about how lonely Marcie must have felt.
Yeah, this was actually a really deep scene.
She's like, oh, have you read something about the feeling of loneliness? And Cordelia says, I feel really alone, and you can be surrounded by people and be alone. I don't think these people don't even know me. They're too busy agreeing with me to even hear what I'm saying. And Buffy's like, well, why do you try so hard to be popular then? And she's like, it's better than being alone, like being lonely by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it beats being alone. Yeah. It beats being alone all by yourself. Yep. Yeah.
So Cordelia's opening up to Buffy about having feelings of loneliness that we definitely didn't see coming.
No, sure. I really liked it when she said, sometimes when I talk, people are so busy agreeing with me, they don't hear a word I say. Mm-hmm. So I kind of pegged her as someone who was completely self-absorbed that didn't really notice anything going on around her. And this is really showing that she actually is quite aware of what's going on around her.
Yeah, it was a very human moment for Cordelia.
Yes.
And also, like, you don't see, even people that you really, really see, like, she's the most popular girl in school, doesn't mean you see everything that's going on with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, in her emotions and home life and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like you just assume that everything's all perfect for her because that's kind of how she acts. But, I mean, we don't actually know her. We assume kind of like she assumes we're just as bad as she is, really. Yeah,
and I feel like she is the 1997 personification of Instagram. You only see, like, this, like, polished, happy, filtered image. Mm-hmm. And that's not what anybody is like or anybody's life is like. So
exactly.
Obviously Instagram didn't exist then. But if it did, it would be Cordelia.
That was a good analogy. I like it. Nice.
In the library, Willow, Giles, and Xander hear a flute. And so they know that it's probably Marcie. So they're like, okay, maybe we can reason with her, or we can at least grab her, because there's 3 of us, like if that doesn't work. They follow it into the basement, where only good things happen.
I mean, why? Come on, guys. We know this.
It's like running up the stairs in a horror movie.
We've already learned this. I'll be right back.
Yes, okay, I'll be right back. Like, come on, guys. So they follow it into the boiler room in the basement, and Xander says, can you say gulp? Because it's just a recording. It's a boombox. Yeah,
they got
recording.
Lured.
They got lured, and there was a trap. And then the door slams shut. They're trapped in there, and the gas has been like broken, essentially.
Yeah.
So there's gas from the furnace like leaking into the room. Yep. They're already coughing, and like it's quickly happening. In the hallway, Cordelia is changing in a mop closet. So Buffy finds somewhere safe for her to change, and Buffy kind of tries to. Buffy wasn't buying it before, I think, what Cordelia was saying. She was just like, okay. But I think now Buffy's like kind of trying to connect with her about what she was saying, because she does say that in LA, when she was popular, she did kind of feel like something was missing. Like, she probably didn't feel like she had like a genuine connection with anyone, which is what Cordelia's kind of saying. You know, it's a very superficial relationships and friendships.
Exactly.
And Buffy says she could relate to that when she was really popular in LA and at Henry. And she's kind of trying to talk, and then she hears a scuffle, and Cordelia's not answering, and so she breaks down the door, and Cordelia is being taken through the ceiling. And she's like, Buffy, and her little feet are like, her little feet are like paddling up into the ceiling. It was so funny. Like her dress, woo, through the ceiling she goes. So Buffy jumps up there to follow her. In the boiler room, the gas is leaking, and they are in a dire situation.
They realize they can't get out. Yeah.
The valve is broken. They can't turn it off. Xander tries to, my note says, Xander tries to blow them all up by trying to open the door with a metal, like, something.
I probably would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have been thinking. I would just like, how do I get this door open?
Yeah, Giles says, one spark and this whole place is going up. We'll take the whole school with us. So they can't really use brute force in that way to open the door.
Nope.
In the ceiling, Buffy goes to where she knew Marcie was living, and Cordelia is knocked out on the bed. Buffy is attacked and falls through one of the, like, ceiling, like the you know, some of those areas you can walk on and some of them you can't, like the really like weak ceiling panels. She falls through that, falls onto a table. It's a pretty bad fall, and she's disoriented for sure.
Yeah.
And then like a old doctor's bag.
Yeah, this is so creepy again. So
creepy. Falls out next to her, and then it opens, and there's a syringe that comes out, and Buffy's starting to come to. And Marcie injects Buffy in the neck with something, and Buffy passes out.
So
this is a really creepy episode. Pretty dark.
It is. Yep.
It only gets darker. At the Bronze, Buffy and Cordelia wake up tied to thrones, which is it's just a cool like look. I just like it. I just love it. The bronze is decorated. Aesthetic. They're tied to these thrones, and Cordelia says that her face is numb. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, again, creepy.
And then she's like, what does that mean? And they look at like the curtain that's in front of them, and it says learn in glitter. It looks gorgeous.
It does, actually. Yeah,
like, Marcie has some good crafting skills.
Yeah.
Because mine, they would be like, what does it say? Like, Lord? What? No, it says learn, guys. Okay. Oh, okay. So, you know, Marcie has her good points. In the boiler room, Giles has done something to the boiler to buy them a few minutes.
Slows it down.
Yeah, he like does something.
Cuts his hand up real bad doing it.
Yeah, I think he's able to turn it somewhat to like stop to slow the flow of the gas. But yeah, he says he gave them a few minutes. Yeah. At the Bronze, Marcie rolls in a surgical tray that's covered in a white sheet. It's very creepy.
It is, actually. And
she pulls it away, and there's all these surgical tools on there, like really gruesome, like looking surgical tools that you do not want to see.
No.
Marcie says that she's going to give Cordelia a face no one will ever forget. That her face is what makes her special, makes her light shine a little brighter than the rest of us, and that she's really going to give her a face that no one will ever forget seeing. She's basically going to mutilate her to the point where people will have nightmares about her.
Which is
essentially
horrible.
Yeah. Marcie's lost the plot completely.
Yeah.
In the boiler room, Willow is now passed out, and Giles and Xander cover that thing, whatever, a crowbar, whatever it was, with like, I don't know, a towel or something, and they're trying to break out that way, so they would something that wouldn't be metal on metal, so there wouldn't be a spark. So they're still trying to get out of there. In the Bronze, Marcie kind of says Buffy's there because she got in her way of exacting her vengeance. So now she doesn't say this to Buffy, but like basically her, Willow, Giles, and Xander are like collateral damage because they're trying to like get in her way and stop her from exacting her plan.
Right.
Marcie goes on to say that children will dream about Cordelia, the people will take the sight of their May Queen to their graves. So yeah, basically saying that she's going to mutilate her so bad people will be thinking about it when they die.
And
That's cool.
Yeah, which is terrible. And she lifts the scalpel up, and I'm just like, oh God.
She's lifting the scalpel and says that she numbed her face because if she doesn't, then Cordelia will pass out, and she wants her awake for the whole thing. Like,
Which is holy crap! Oh my God!
Wow.
Like, this is some next level horror movie stuff.
Yeah, that is really messed up. Yeah. And this whole time, Buffy is kind of trying to get like she's tied, but trying to get like one of the tools on the edge of the tray, and she finally gets one, and is like this whole time she's like kind of like cutting the ropes. And she, right before Marcie's going to start cutting Cordelia, she says they're going to start giving her a wider smile. So I think she's going for the Joker aesthetic.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I got too. Okay,
that's like what I think it would look like.
Yep.
So Buffy breaks free, and she knows kind of where Marcie is because she's holding the scalpel, and she like pushes her to get her away from Cordelia. So they have this like pretty interesting, I don't know if you can call it a fight because Buffy can't see.
Yeah, Buffy just gets hit.
Buffy and Marcie are kind of scuffling and fighting.
Yeah, and Cordelia still gets, she's still got a nick on her cheek, man.
Yeah, she did get nicked, yeah, because she did cut her on her cheek, yeah. In the boiler room at the last minute, basically, they're all passing out, and Angel opens the door and pulls them out and saves them, and they start to come to. And Angel is like, I was coming through the basement to give you the codex, and he gives them the book, so he found it, and he said he smelled the gas.
Thank God.
And saved them, and that he's going to turn the gas off because it's not like he needs the oxygen.
He doesn't have to breathe.
Yeah, he doesn't have to breathe. So nice. Angel saved them, and he's going to save the school.
Saves the day.
Mm-hmm. And the bronze, Marcie is really kicking Buffy's butt because Buffy can't see her.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you remember earlier in the episode, Giles says, she's like, oh, how am I going to like fight her? And Giles says something, well, maybe you have to start listening to people. And she's like, oh, very funny. But it kind of comes full circle in this scene when Buffy tells Cordelia to shut up.
She harnesses that hearing powder.
And she uses her like Slayer instincts. And this shot is beautiful.
It was actually.
It goes on longer than expected, but not too long. Not like the pack, like walking montage. It goes on and on and on. And I'm like, what did I get out of that? Nothing. But this one is like so beautiful, like the slow mo with the wind and everything. And I just loved this part.
You can slightly hear someone breathing, which is what Buffy hears. And
then you hear a creak. And then, like, where Marcie steps somewhere, a very light creak, and then she knows where she is, and she punches her lights out. Yeah. Basically, she goes into a curtain, thankfully, so now she can see her form because it's covered with the curtain. Yep. So now she can, now she's been kind of cloaked.
Decloaked.
So, yeah.
Cloaked, yes.
Decloaked by a cloak. And now she can really see where she's at, and she can, like, wail on her. The back door opens, and the men in black that we've been seeing like stalk the school come in, and they're like, okay, FBI, we'll take it from here. And I'm like, what? Like,
yeah,
this is weird.
So weird.
They're like, we'll take her, and they kind of like take her. She's still covered in the curtain, so you can kind of see them moving this figure away. Buffy's like, this has happened before, obviously, like at other schools. Like,
they can't say anything.
Can you like? What are you going to do with her? Like, how are you going to help her? And they say they're going to rehabilitate her so that she will be
useful member of society.
A useful member of society. And Buffy's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and they tell her to just forget it. And then, so she's like, yep.
Okay. Sure. I don't know. I feel like this is not something Buffy would have done.
That seems a little weird.
In season 5 or 6 or 7 or even 4. She'd be like, no. You're not taking her anywhere.
Exactly.
We're going to deal with this in-house. We're going to get her
weird.
The help she needs.
She just gets carted off.
Yeah. Buffy in later seasons would not have allowed her to be carted off.
Right.
But
so we'll see more of her character development, I guess.
I mean, these guys could have been fake. Who knows they could have been?
No, we don't know anything.
Buffy, even if it, like, but it's just a big reveal that the government knows about these, like, supernatural /
invisible people?
Yeah, like, I know this was, like, kind of lended a bit more towards, like, physics and stuff, but they know about these kind of, like, weird happenings, basically. Yep. This is not a surprise to them, so they come and collect her. In the hallway, Giles says that he lies to Buffy and says that the janitor found them, because he's telling her about what happened. Yeah, she doesn't, because they're...
I don't want her to know.
Angel and Buffy are trying to stay away from each other.
So sad.
And, I forgot to mention something. When Giles and Angel are talking, I feel like Giles is like, how like poetic that a vampire's in love with a slayer. And he seems so cool and relaxed around Angel, which is so weird to me.
I think it's because he knows that Angel doesn't feed on.
Yeah, has no qualms about Angel and her having some kind of thing together that he says. Mm-hmm. And he's just kind of like very quick to work with Angel. Just because he doesn't feed on people, he's a demon. Well, he does have a soul. I don't know. It just seemed weird for him to be so trusting of Angel right away. To me.
I didn't really think
considering
about that.
He's a watcher. It just rang too trusting too soon for me. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. But probably now he does trust him more because he just saved his life.
Yeah, exactly. And brought him the Codex.
So, that did help. But this was all, he was like, hey, Angel, what's up? Before any of this happened, which I thought was a bit weird. So he lies and says that the janitor saved them. He doesn't want to bring Angel up. And Cordelia comes over and says, thank you, which is crazy. Thank you for saving me. I didn't get a chance to say it at the coronation. And they're like, you're welcome.
It's very heartfelt, very appreciative.
Mm-hmm, it's genuine.
And then Willow invites her to lunch because,
Willow's a nice person.
We can be friends.
Yeah, Willow's nicer than me. I'd be like, you're welcome, get away from me now.
Yeah, same.
And then before she could even answer, Mitch comes over and it's like, oh, what are you doing talking to these losers or whatever he says. And just like that, like...
She switches back to Cordy.
She switches and says, ew, I wasn't talking to that. I was just like helping them with their fashion disasters. I wouldn't want to be part of that like social leper colony or something like that.
She's so mean.
And she just walks off talking about them and they're like, yeah, okay. Like, back to normal.
Lesson learned from this episode.
Back to normal.
And then the ending was a nice touch.
The ending was great. But I actually want to talk a little bit about the look, listen, learn.
Okay, yeah. I didn't really... Yeah, okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, before we get to the very, very, very good ending. Like, it's one of my favorite...
Connect the dots.
It's really one of my favorite Buffy endings, honestly. Like, I had forgotten how good this ending was. But look, listen, learn, I feel like Look was... I don't know really why she even went after Mitch, because they didn't show in a flashback any connection between them. But the flashback that we did see showed that she was not even being acknowledged by Cordelia and Harmony. And then listen, the teacher wouldn't listen to her, didn't want to hear what she had to say, even though she saw her. And then learn was that she even said to Cordelia, said, like, what do you want to teach us? And she's like, I'm not the teacher, you're the lesson. So basically, she was going to mutilate Cordelia so bad that it was going to teach. Like, she hoped that it would teach other people not to be like her. So those are my interpretations of like the clues that she left.
I think that's actually really, really insightful. Yeah.
So I think that's what she was trying to say with those. But let us know if you thought differently, because I would be interested. Because it's so vague. So I'd like to know if anybody else has a different take on it. So we go to I'm sure undisclosed FBI top secret location.
Obviously.
And they like are kind of guiding this obviously invisible Marcie into a room with the teacher or lady at the front of the classroom and nobody else there. But she walks in.
You should fit right in here.
They're like, hi, Marcie. Like, say hi to the Marcie, the class. And everyone's like, hi. But you don't see anybody, obviously. And he's like, okay, Marcie, take a seat. So she sits down. I don't know how she knows what seat isn't taken, because she shouldn't be able to see other invisible people.
No, exactly.
I wish the teacher would have been like, oh, take a seat there, and said something about the seat, because they should all be looking around seeing an empty classroom. Yeah. Right? So, but she knows exactly where to sit, and the teacher says to open to page whatever, but it's chapter 11, their textbook, and the title of the chapter is Assassination and Infiltration. I had like a space there, and I missed it. And yeah, she's like, cool. So they're being used as spies and assassins for the American government. Weird. Which is insane ending. I love that ending.
Yeah.
Like, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything else about the chapter?
Oh, I did not, actually. I just noticed the title.
Okay, so the text below it is the lyrics for Happiness is a Warm Gun by the Beatles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good
catch. I noticed it right away. I was like, oh, these are like lyrics to Beatles songs. I'm a big Beatles fan. And then, but they did change a few things. They said, instead of happiness is a warm gun, they said joy is a hot revolver.
Oh, okay.
Which Revolver is another Beatles album, so I don't know if that was intentional or they didn't want to say gun. I'm not sure. But it could be a reference to another Beatles album.
Yeah.
And then the last line, something about monkeys or something, that's not part of the song. So I don't know what that line means.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the rest of it is just lyrics to a Beatles song.
Huh.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
I love this ending so much. This is like a top ending for me for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and then that's the end. So Marcie has been recruited against her will to be a spy, but she seems to be okay with it.
She seems happy enough with
she says,
it.
Cool.
She's fine.
Now I guess like the bloodlust is there, even though she hasn't killed anyone. But
Maybe that's what they were waiting for. Maybe that's why it took them so long. Jeez.
yeah, it was.
Because Buffy even asked them, like, what took you guys so long? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, we got here as fast as we could.
We were just standing in the quad for 3 days.
Yeah,
But we
exactly.
but we couldn't get here. Okay. All right, sure. Okay, so that's Out of Sight, Out of Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a great episode. I really liked this
It
one.
was a really good episode, actually.
Yeah. So my favorite line was, there are no dead students here this week. And to Principal Snyder for that one.
That was a good one.
And my favorite scene was the bronze scenes. The bronze scenes. So when they're in the thrones, like she's like talking to Cordelia about her face, the whole like fight scene, and then that shot with Buffy, like honing her Slayer instincts to hear Marcie. I love that whole thing. So that was
a
my
good
favorite scene. Yeah.
Okay. My favorite line was when Giles says, a vampire in love with a Slayer. It's rather poetic in a something sort of way. I missed what he said. Maudlin sort of way. Maudlin? I didn't understand what he said there. Anyway. And then my favorite scene, I'm going to say, I really liked it. I mean, the fight scene, or when she's honing her hearing senses, that was a really good scene. But I'm going to go with the scene where her and Cordy were kind of, like when Cordy opened up. I really appreciated that character development of her.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, this whole episode was really centered and focused on her character development, and I actually really liked that.
Yeah. The first human moment we've seen of Cordy in 11 episodes.
Yeah.
Because she's a horrible cretin most of the time. So
Yeah, she is.
yeah. So yeah, this was a big one for all those reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so steak rating. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go?
You can go first.
I give it a 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just love this episode.
Wow.
It's pretty dark. Pretty dark
It
themes. Like she's gonna like mutilate her, or the bag over the head.
Super creepy.
Like, yeah, I think it was pretty dark for season 1 Buffy episode.
Yeah, it was like a horror movie, like a real legit creepy horror movie.
Yeah, it was really well done. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the plot. Like, I liked the whole invisible girl getting revenge and stuff. I liked that. I think it stood up. Like, you could watch, this could be on TV today, and I think it would still be entertaining.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't think it was, like, dated, or the plot didn't age, or there wasn't a lot of, like, ooh, we wouldn't do that today.
Yes, you're
Much
right.
of that. So I think this one stood the test of time.
Okay.
I like I love the reveal that the government kind of knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That'll not be the last time we hear from the government about
okay.
the world of the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
They're aware of it, and we will see them again at some point.
Okay.
And then Cordy was a big part of this episode.
Yeah.
And she really delivered, like, to be a human and make us, like, not totally hate her to our very core.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that too. I gave it 4.5 steaks.
Okay.
A lot of the things what you said too. I really liked the character development with Cordelia. I thought that was a really strong move in this episode. Also, I just really liked how they didn't do any. But this
Supernatural?
Supernatural. Thank you. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but like.
Well, Giles says it, like, straddles the line, right?
Yeah.
He's like, it says it's like physics, but it's physics on a hellmouth.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked that, how it was a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, he does, like, say there's like a big, like, it's mostly science, but it's science on a hellmouth. So that's something that we haven't seen
Experienced
yet.
yet. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Malcolm, I guess.
Yeah.
He was just a demon. He was just a demon in a computer.
Yeah.
So I guess that he used.
But he was still
science.
a demon, though.
Yeah. So it's different. It's different.
I felt like this was actually really different.
Yeah. So I thought it was a different take that was entertaining, and I liked it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So your question for next week, which is the finale, season 1 finale, Prophecy Girl.
Prophecy Girl.
In Prophecy Girl, there was a cartoon playing on a TV. What's the cartoon?
What? Oh, God. Okay, so we're talking 1997.
Yes.
What kind of cartoon would they be watching at that point in time?
I'll tell you, I mean, I don't know how many, like, there weren't adult cartoons are, like, way more popular now, like, you know, Simpsons, Family Guy, whatever, even though the Simpsons were around then. I'll tell you, it's a kid's cartoon.
Like, okay, like
a children's
kid's
cartoon. Like
okay.
Sunday morning cartoon type of thing.
Okay, so like Looney Tunes or something like that?
That'd be in the right wheelhouse.
Okay, let's go with Looney Tunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see if you are a prophecy girl or not.
Nice.
Oh, and I did scribble some notes here that there was a lot of Scooby-Doo references in this episode. Maybe
I should have picked that.
Willow, it's not Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
That would have been funny. Oh, so Willow's wearing, the very obvious one is Willow's wearing a Scooby-Doo shirt.
No, I missed that.
Buffy is wearing a purple scarf around her neck, the way Daphne wears it.
Oh, nice catch. Okay, yeah.
And she goes on later to play Daphne in the Scooby-Doo movies.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then when Xander says something along the lines of, "Can you say gulp?"
Oh, yeah, that's a Scooby-Doo thing, too.
That's a line from Scooby-Doo, yeah.
A Shaggy thing, okay.
And this isn't, like, now, but, like, there's a whole Scooby-Doo undertone to the show. Like, later, they haven't used the phrase yet, but the core group is known as the Scooby Gang later on. They haven't used that terminology yet, but that came to my mind, too. So someone is a Scooby-Doo fan in the show, like, in, like, the writer's room, or Joss. Somebody is a Scooby-Doo fan, because we constantly see, like, Scooby-Doo stuff come up.
That's funny. I didn't notice that. Good catch.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that was just, like, a few little things that I noted as well. So that wraps up Season 1, Episode 11, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Again, you can find us on all major podcast apps and YouTube and Instagram at One Girl in All the World Pod. You can email us at onegirlpod@gmail.com. And also, we are doing a giveaway on our Instagram, so please go over there. We're giving away a Buffy sticker pack, which will include a One Girl in All the World podcast sticker.
That's a really cute sticker.
It came out well. I was surprised. I was like, we'll see. It a lot. We'll see. Yeah. You know, you make these online and you're like, okay, we'll see what it's printed. But it came out good. So you can have one of those if you win the giveaway. So get to our Instagram and be following so that you don't miss the post when I post about the giveaway rules and everything. And also, do us a little favor. We're going to give you some free stickers. Please go to whatever podcast app you're on and leave us a 5-star review. Give
us some reviews.
Yeah, give us some reviews. You can just hit the stars, or you can actually write something, which would be nice.
You don't have to write something, but yes, we like feedback.
Yeah, if it's nice, we'll read it on the podcast. Give you a little shout out. Yeah, so
that's right.
Get over there. Because I think on iTunes we only have like 2. It's like me and my husband. So.
Oh shoot, I better get on there.
I think, yeah. Come on, Kimmy. Practice what you preach, girlfriend.
Damn it.
Yeah, okay, so, it's gonna be there's going to be 3 by the time this Come on, I got to get out of my family members and stuff, too. Yeah. So just head over there and just quickly give us a little review. That would be really nice. All right, so thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week with episode Prophecy Girl.
The finale.
Season 1 finale. Can you believe it? We're already almost done with Season 1.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Okay, we'll see you next time. Slay you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.